There is a version of you that no one has ever met. Not your husband or your wife, not your closest friend, not the people who think they know you well. You keep that version behind a door you have never once opened in front of another living soul. And you have spent a great deal of your life making sure it stays shut. The person everyone sees is real, but it is not all of you. Behind the warmth and the competence and the steady face you show the world, there is a room you keep locked. And in that room are the things you are most ashamed of. The memory you would die before explaining. The thing you did, or the thing that was done to you. The thought you cannot believe you are capable of. The part of yourself you are convinced that if anyone ever truly saw it, they would turn and walk away and never come back. I want to talk to you tonight about that locked room, not to expose it, not to shame you for what is in it, but because I have something to tell you that you have spent your whole life not daring to believe. I have already been inside. You did not let me in. You never let anyone in. But there was no door I had to open, because I have known the inside of that room since before you ever built the walls around it. And here is the thing I most need you to hear. I saw all of it, every shameful corner of it, the whole of who you really are, the parts you are most certain make you unlovable. I saw it long ago, and I am still here. I did not flinch. I did not leave. I have been on the other side of that locked door the entire time, not pounding to get in, just waiting, with more tenderness than you would dare to hope for the day you might finally believe that being fully known by me is the safest thing that has ever happened to you. So sit with me a while, and let me speak into the place you have never let anyone speak. I know how tired you are. Not the ordinary kind, the specific exhaustion of pretending, of managing the gap between the person people think you are and the person you are afraid you actually are. It is heavy work, holding up a self for others to see while hiding the self you believe is the truth. You have done it so long, it has become second nature. The smile that does not quite reach the place where the shame lives. The deflection when a conversation drifts too close to the door. The quiet panic when someone looks at you a moment too long, as though they might see through you. And underneath all of it runs one cold, constant thought. If they really knew me, they would not love me. So you make sure they never really know you. And you are loved, in a way, but it is a thin and frightened kind of being loved, because some part of you always whispers that the love is for the mask, and would vanish the instant the mask came off. That is a lonely way to be loved, to be in a room full of people who care for you, and to feel somewhere deep down that not one of them has met the real you, and that if they did, they would stop. It is its own particular ache, the loneliness of the hidden, and I know it is one you have carried for a very long time. Watch yourself. Sometime, in the small moment when someone gets too close, a conversation drifts toward something real, and you feel it before you even decide anything. The smooth, practiced turn away, the joke, the change of subject, the question handed back so the attention lands on them instead of you. You have 100 ways of staying just out of reach, and you deploy them without thinking. the way a hand pulls back from a flame. To anyone watching, you are open and warm. Only you know how much of that openness is a carefully drawn map with the real territory left off it. People walk through the rooms you let them see and never suspect there is a wing of the house they have never been shown. And it costs you more than they will ever guess. Every relationship you have is conducted at a slight distance, with a part of you standing guard, monitoring, making sure the door stays shut. You cannot fully relax even among people who love you, because relaxing is dangerous. Relaxing is how things slip out. So you are never entirely at rest in anyone's company, always working, even when you look most at ease, to keep the unacceptable parts of yourself out of view. It is a quiet, constant labor that no one sees, and it has worn a groove in you over the years. And I have watched how tired it has made you, in a way no amount of sleep repairs. And I know where some of this came from, because not all of your shame was earned. Some of it was handed to you. There are things in that locked room that you did not do at all, things that were done to you by someone who should have protected you and instead wounded you. And somehow you came out of it believing the shame was yours to carry. It was not. Hear me on this, because the lie has had you in its grip for years. The shame of what was done to you was never yours. It belongs to the one who did it. You picked up a weight that was placed on you by someone else's wrong, and you have been dragging it ever since, as though it were proof of something dark in you, when all it ever was proof that you were sinned against. Set that down. That particular stone in the room was never yours, and I am not asking you to carry it one more day. And for some of you, it is not even a single thing you can point to. It is vaguer than that, and somehow worse. Not one secret you could name, but a pervasive, low-lying sense that something is simply wrong with you at the core. That other people received some basic okayness you were skipped over for. That if anyone looked closely enough, they would find, underneath it all, that you are fundamentally not enough, not right, not good in some way you cannot even put into words. It is not shame over what you did. It is shame over what you are. And that is the heaviest kind, because there is no single act to confess and be done with. It feels woven into the fabric of you, original to you, permanent. If that is your particular weight, I want to speak to it as directly as I know how. The defect you are so sure is at your center is not what I see when I look at you. I made your center. I know what is actually there, underneath even your own distorted sense of yourself. And it is not the rot you fear. It is a soul I formed on purpose, wanted before the world began, and have never once regretted making. The feeling of being wrong at the root is one of the oldest lies there is. It is not a diagnosis. It is a wound, and I can heal it. And the things you did do, the choices you actually made that you cannot forgive yourself for, I am not going to pretend those away either. Some of what is in that room is real. You did wrong. You hurt someone, or you betrayed something, or you became, for a season, a person you are now ashamed to have been. I am not a God who calls darkness light or tells you that your sin did not matter. It did. But here is what shame has never let you understand. I can look straight at the worst thing you have ever done, name it for exactly what it was, and love you anyway, fully, without 1 degree of withdrawal. The world cannot usually do both at once. People tend to either excuse you or reject you. I do neither. I see it clearly, and I love you completely, in the same breath. That is the thing about my love that shame cannot compute, and so it keeps telling you that you must be one or the other, either secretly fine or finally cast out. You are neither. You are a real sinner who is really, fully, relentlessly loved. And here is the cruelest thing shame has done to you, the part that grieves me most. It has not only kept you at a distance from people, it has kept you at a distance from me. You have come to imagine that I am the least safe person of all to be known by, that of everyone, I am the one most likely to recoil, because I am holy and you are not. So you keep me, too, at arm's length. You pray, but carefully, around the edges, never quite bringing the room into the conversation. You worship with a part of yourself held back, because it feels like a lie to draw near to me while that is in you. And so the very one who could lift the shame off you entirely is the one you most carefully hide it from. Shame has built its highest wall, exactly where you most needed an open door. Do you see the trap of it? The thing that could free you, you flee from. Because shame has dressed me up to look like your accuser. I am not your accuser. I never was. The voice that has been telling you to hide from me is not mine. And tonight, I am asking you to stop running from the only one who was never going to turn away. Let me show you in my own words how completely I already know you. There is a song in my book, written by a man who knew both holiness and disgrace. And it says, O Lord, thou hast searched me and known me. Thou knowest my downsitting and mine uprising. Thou understandest my thought afar off. For there is not a word in my tongue, but, lo, O Lord, thou knowest it altogether. Read that slowly. Not a single word on your tongue, before you even speak it, is unknown to me. Not a thought has crossed your mind in the dark that I did not see. The same poem asks, almost in wonder, where could I even go to escape your presence? And the answer it lands on is that there is nowhere. If you climbed to heaven, I am there. If you made your bed in the deepest pit of your own shame, I am there too. You have been hiding from everyone and rightly fearing exposure. And the whole time, the one set of eyes you most dreaded has already seen everything. And those eyes have only ever looked at you with love. Think about what that means. The disaster you have spent your life trying to prevent. The moment when the one who truly matters finally sees all of you, has already happened. It happened long ago, and you survived it. More than survived it. You are still held, still wanted, still mine. The worst-case scenario your shame keeps threatening you with is behind you, not ahead of you. And on the far side of it stands a God who knows the very things you are most afraid of, and has not loved you 1 ounce less. Let that rearrange something in you. For years, you have lived braced against a future moment of exposure, organizing your whole life to delay it, as though everything depended on never being fully seen. But the exposure you dread is not a future event. It is a settled fact, already accomplished, already survived. The most penetrating gaze in all the universe has already passed over every inch of that locked room, lingered on a very thing you would sooner die than show. And the verdict it returned was not horror, it was love. Not love in spite of what it saw, holding its nose, making allowances. Love that took in the whole of you, the true, unedited whole, and wanted you still. You have been afraid of a disaster that already happened and turned out to be the best thing that ever happened to you. Let me tell you about a woman who lived exactly as you have been living, behind a wall of shame, and what happened when she was finally, fully seen. She came to a well in the heat of the day, at noon, when no one else would be there. That detail matters. The other women came in the cool of the morning, together, talking. She came alone, in the heat, because she could not bear their eyes. Her life had been a string of broken marriages, and a present arrangement that the whole town whispered about. And she had organized her entire existence around avoiding the very thing you avoid, being seen. And at that well sat a stranger, who turned out to be far more than a stranger. And in the course of a single conversation, he told her the truth of her own life. The marriages, the man she was with who was not her husband, all of it, laid bare. He knew. The one thing she had built her whole life to hide. He simply knew, plainly, completely. And here is what undid her. He knew, and he did not leave. He knew, and he was not disgusted. He knew the very worst of her, said it out loud to her face, and then offered her living water, offered her himself, treated her not as a scandal to be avoided, but as a soul worth crossing a region to find. She had spent years certain that to be known was to be rejected, and the most fully she was ever known, by the holiest person she would ever meet, was the moment she was most gently received. And do you know what she did then? She who had come to the well alone, at noon, to avoid every eye, ran back into the town she had been hiding from, and said to anyone who would listen, "Come, see a man," which told me all things that ever I did. The thing she had spent her life concealing became the very thing she now announced, because being known had stopped being her terror and become her freedom. The shame that had isolated her turned, in his hands, into the testimony that set a whole town searching for him. That is what I do with shame when you finally bring it into the light with me. I do not just remove it, I turn it into the place where my grace shows brightest. And notice that I went to the well to meet her. She did not come looking for me. She came hoping to avoid everyone. I was the one who arranged to be sitting there, in the heat, at the hour I knew she would come, precisely because she thought no one would. I sought out the woman who was hiding. That is worth sitting with, because shame tells you that your hiding has put you out of my reach, that by keeping the room shut, you have kept me away. The opposite is true. I come to the well at noon. I go looking, on purpose, for the ones who organize their lives around not being found. And I sit down right in the path they chose, precisely because they hoped it would be empty. You have not escaped me by hiding. You have only arranged to meet me somewhere quiet, where there is no crowd, and I can tell you the truth about your life and the deeper truth about my love, without anyone else listening in. There was another, a woman dragged into the open in front of a jeering crowd, caught in the very act of her sin, with stones already in the hands of those ready to make an example of her. And the only one there with the right to condemn her, the only one without sin himself, knelt down and then stood and said the words shame never expects to hear. Neither do I condemn thee. Not, you are excused. Not, it did not matter. Something better. I see exactly what you did, and I am not holding the stone. Go and be free of it. This is who I am, in the place you are most afraid of. Not the prosecutor your shame has imagined for years. Something you have never quite let yourself believe in. A love that looks straight at the worst and stays. If something in you is loosening as I speak, even slightly, do not let it slam shut again the moment this ends. The shame has had years to build its walls. It will not surrender them in one night. If it would help to hear this again, on the next evening, the old voice tells you that the real you is unlovable. You can come back here whenever you need to. I am not selling you anything, and I never will. I only want to keep saying this to you until the day it finally goes in, deeper than the shame ever did. Now hear the deepest thing, the thing that breaks the back of shame entirely, when it is finally believed. My word says, God commendeth his love toward us, in that, while we were yet sinners, Christ died for us. Notice the timing in that, because shame always gets the timing wrong. Shame says, clean yourself up, hide the worst, become someone worthy, and then maybe you can be loved. But that is exactly backwards from how I have always worked. I did not wait for you to become lovable before I loved you. I did not love the cleaned up, presentable version you show the world. The love that I proved at the cross was aimed at you at your worst. While you were still in the wrong, still hiding, still convinced you were beyond reach. The most expensive thing I have ever done, I did for the version of you that you are most ashamed of. That self in the locked room, the one you are sure no one could love, is the precise one I gave everything to rescue. You do not have to become worthy of my love. You were loved at your most unworthy. That is the whole point. This is the exact reversal shame cannot survive. If you will let it sink in, every other love you have known has come with conditions, spoken or not. Be good enough. Be pleasant enough. Be useful enough. Hide enough of the bad, and you will be accepted. Let too much of the real you show, and the love is at risk. You have lived your whole life inside that economy, earning love by performance, terrified of the audit. And then there is mine, which operates on no such terms at all. I set my love on you before you had done one thing to deserve it, and while you were doing many things that should have forfeited it. It is not a wage you are failing to earn. It is a gift that was given before you were even in the room to refuse it. There is nothing left for you to qualify for. The verdict came in before the trial, and it was mercy. And when your own heart will not let it go, when you sit in judgment over yourself and pronounce yourself guilty and unredeemable, hear this: if our heart condemn us, God is greater than our heart, and knoweth all things. Your heart is not the highest court. You have appointed yourself judge over your own soul and handed down the harshest possible sentence, and you have been serving it for years. But there is a higher court than the courtroom in your own chest, and the verdict there is different from the one you keep passing on yourself. I am greater than your condemning heart. I know more than it does, the whole truth and not just the accusation. And from that higher seat, knowing everything, every single thing you are most ashamed of, I do not condemn you. When your heart and I disagree about your worth, my child, I am the one who is right. Your heart, you understand, is not a neutral witness. It does not give you the facts. It gives you the prosecution's case. The same accusations on a loop, the evidence stacked all one way, with every mitigating truth quietly left out. You have been listening to that one voice for so long that you have mistaken it for reality itself, for the simple truth about who you are. But it is not the truth. It is one voice, and a biased one. And there is a higher and clearer voice that has been speaking under it all along. When the verdict in your chest says guilty, unlovable, beyond help, you are hearing a lower court that does not have the final say, and that does not even have the full evidence, because it cannot see what I have already done with your sin. Appeal to the higher court. Bring the case before me, who knows everything your heart knows, and a great deal that it does not, and hear the ruling that actually stands. And to the part of you that feels not just guilty, but dirty, stained, permanently marked by what is in that room, I make you the oldest and most stunning of my offers. Come now, and let us reason together, saith the Lord. Though your sins be as scarlet, they shall be as white as snow. Though they be red like crimson, they shall be as wool. Hear the tone of it first, before the promise. Come now, let us reason together. That is not the voice of a judge pronouncing sentence. It is the voice of a father pulling a chair close and saying, "Come, sit. Let us talk this through." And then the promise itself, which is greater than you have let yourself imagine. I do not merely scrub the stain down to a more bearable shade. Snow is not bleached. It is simply naturally white. Wool is not dirt that has been cleaned. It is clean by nature. What I am offering is not a faded version of your stained self. It is a new nature, a clean one, as though the scarlet had never been. Not a cover-up, a making new. Sit with the picture I chose, because I chose it on purpose. I did not say your sins, though they be as scarlet, shall be made a paler shade of red. I did not promise to scrub you down to something slightly less stained, leaving you forever a little marked, a little worn, never quite clean. I said snow. I said wool. Things that are not white because someone bleached the dirt out of them, but white in their own nature, white at the root. What I am holding out to you is not the exhausting project of cleaning yourself up enough to be presentable. It is a gift of a wholly new nature, given, not earned, in which the thing you cannot stop seeing when you look at yourself is simply, truly gone, replaced by something clean that did not have to fight its way out of the stain. You have been trying for years to wash a garment that only gets grayer the harder you scrub. Hand it to me. I do not wash it. I make it new. So here is how I would have you begin to live. Now that you know the room is not a secret from me. Stop performing for me. First of all, you may keep a careful face for the world if you must, though I would love to see you set even that down in time. But with me, there is no point and no need. I already know. The whole exhausting project of being acceptable to me, of managing how I see you, of hiding the room from the only one who has always been inside it. You can lay that down tonight. Come to me as you actually are, not as you wish you were, not cleaned up for the visit. The real you, the locked room you, is the only one I have ever been talking to anyway. Bring the thing into the light, with me, before you ever consider bringing it to anyone else. Shame lives by staying hidden. It loses its power the moment it is spoken in the presence of love. You do not have to announce it to the world. You do not have to post it or confess it publicly or hand it to people who have not earned it. But name it to me, plainly, the actual thing, out loud if you can. Not so that I will learn something I do not know, but so that you will finally experience being fully known and fully kept in the same moment. That is where shame dies, in the daylight of being seen and not abandoned. You will feel a strong pull when you try this to keep negotiating in generalities, to say, forgive me for everything, cleanse me of it all, without ever letting the actual thing be spoken. Because speaking it feels like making it real, like handing me the very evidence that will finally turn me away. But the generality is shame's hiding place. As long as the thing stays a vague, unnamed darkness, it keeps its power, because it never gets to be met. So say the real thing, not the category. The thing, the specific memory, the actual word for what you did or what happened, the precise shape of the part of yourself you are most afraid of. Say it to me plainly, and then notice what does not happen. I do not leave. The room does not get colder. The love does not flicker. You have just done the thing you were certain would end everything. And everything is still here. And so are you. And so am I. Do that even once, all the way. And shame will never again hold quite the grip it held before. Because you will have a memory stronger than the lie. The memory of being fully specific and fully kept. And then, carefully, let one or two safe people in. I made you to be known, not only by me, but by others. And the lie of shame is that you must stay hidden from everyone forever. That is not life. That is a cell. You need not throw the door wide to anyone who asks. But somewhere there is, or can be, a person or two who is safe, a wise friend, a pastor, a trustworthy soul, with whom the real you can begin to step into the open and discover that the love does not vanish. Pray for me to bring you such a person, and when I do, risk being a little more known than is comfortable. Each time you are seen and not rejected, the old lie weakens. Choose that person carefully. Not everyone has earned your locked room. And wisdom is not the same as fear. There are people who would handle what you tell them badly, and you are not obligated to handle your shame by handing it to the unsafe. But do not let a few unsafe people convince you that everyone is unsafe, that the only option is the cell you have been living in. Somewhere there is someone who has walked through their own version of this, who will not gasp, who will not gossip, who will meet your worst with the same steadiness I am showing you now. Ask me to bring them. I am good at it. And when they come, begin small. You do not have to empty the whole room on the first day. Crack the door. Tell one true thing. Watch the love hold. Then, when you are ready, tell another. This is how a hidden person learns, slowly and by real evidence, that they were never as unlovable as the shame insisted, and that the life they were made for was never meant to be lived entirely alone in the dark. And if the shame has curdled into something that is hurting you, if it has become a self-hatred so heavy that you have begun to feel the world would be better without you in it, then you must not sit alone with that, not for one more night. That voice is lying to you with everything it has, and you should not have to argue with it by yourself. Tell someone, a person who loves you, a pastor, a doctor or counselor, who can help you carry it. Reaching for help when the shame turns to despair is not weakness, and it is not failure. It is exactly the brave and right thing, and I will be in it with you when you do. If these words have found the locked room in you tonight, let this be the first crack of light under the door. You do not have to say what is in there. You do not owe anyone the story. Just write 3 words where others can see them. I am known. Say it as a quiet act of defiance against the lie that has isolated you for so long, among others who are unlocking their own doors tonight. And discover you were never the only one hiding. I read every one of those words, and I love the courage behind each. So come out of the room now, just for a moment, into the light, and let me look at you, the real you, the one you were sure no one could love. I am looking. I see all of it. The part you are most ashamed of, the wound that was given to you, the wrong you actually did, the thought you cannot believe you had, the whole of who you really are, with nothing hidden and nothing softened. I am seeing it right now, completely, the way no one else ever has. And I am not turning away. I am not disgusted, and I am not leaving. And the love in my eyes is not for the mask, because the mask is off now, and I am still here, looking at the true you with a tenderness you have spent your whole life believing was impossible. You were so sure that to be fully known was to be finally abandoned. And here you are, more known than you have ever been, more known than you ever dared to be. And you are not abandoned. You are held. You are wanted. You are mine, exactly as you are. In the very room you were certain would end my love for you. Stay here a moment longer and let it be true. You do not have to do anything with it yet. Do not have to feel transformed. Do not have to walk out a different person tonight. Just let yourself be looked at, fully, by someone who is not turning away. Feel how strange it is, after all these years of bracing for the flinch that never comes. There is no flinch. There is only a steady, unhurried love that has seen the whole of you and settled in to stay. The thing you built every wall to prevent is not happening. The opposite is happening. You are being seen all the way to the bottom and being loved all the way down. You can stop hiding now. The thing you feared has already happened, and you are still loved. The worst is already seen, and I am still here. Come out of the dark, beloved, not because you have made yourself clean enough to be seen, but because you are seen, and you are loved. And there was never anything in that room strong enough to change it. Let the door stand open. I am not going anywhere. I never was.